You ready? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the third to the last TWed talk for the semester. Tonight, Evan Patton, PhD student here in Tetherless World, is going to talk to us about reasoning. I won't make any jokes about a reasonable talk. We've got two remaining talks. Next week is a gap week. Next week is a hack tech evening. So just come and just spend time problem solving. In 2 weeks, Josh is going to talk about real-time semantic agents, and the week after that, Eric Roselle is going to talk about his faceted browsing and his S2S interface. So we've got a lot of really interesting talks for the remainder of the term. And then we're already starting to plan our talks for next term. Next term we're going to do some interesting things. Number one is our hope is to have each of the professors do a TWed talk, which should be pretty interesting. And this is actually the professor's idea. One of the professor's idea. Also, we're collecting ideas for talks. We already have somebody signed up to demonstrate and talk about Google Refine, but there's other technologies that we'd like to put on docket. So without further ado, Evan.
Thanks, John. So this talk is really meant to be hands-on, interactive, you guys do what I do type of thing, and that way you get the experience of playing around with some of the reasoning stuff we're going to talk about. If you were here a few weeks ago, Jim McCusker did a more theoretical talk about RDFS, OWL, and OWL2, but we're actually going to go and play around with implementation. We're going to use Jenna, we're going to use Pellet, we're going to do some inferencing on the fly, we're going to do some Sparkle queries over that. And it should give you just a very quick intro to how you do all this so that when you go out and you want to build your own semantic applications and you want to include a little bit of ontology design in there, you have a starting point. Now, the first thing is, if you got the email, you probably already have installed Eclipse and all of that stuff I requested, if you want to follow along. So I'm just going to go along right here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to check out the source code, so that way I'm working off the same copy you guys are. It's harder to type when I have to look up there. So if you downloaded it last night, I've made some minor changes, so you should probably just do an SVN update to get the latest files. But if you're doing it along with me, or you've done it in the past hour or two, you should be all set. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to start up Eclipse. This is its own, let me pull this over here, everything's going to go on my main screen. So this is, I have it set up to launch with a workspace, so I'm just going to point it at the directory that we checked out of Subversion, and it's going to read that in. Let me just bring that over now. Oh, for some of this, the text might be a little bit small, but if you're following along, then you should be able to read it because you have your computers in front of you. Now, once you've got Eclipse started and it's in the reasoning workspace, you're going to want to right-click over under Project Explorer. You're going to hit Import. You want to say General, and then Existing Projects into Workspace. So this directory already contains a number of projects, so we're just going to pull them all in and make sure that we've got them all set up. So when you come in here, I'll go through this again, it comes to the import screen. You want to select the root directory, you hit Browse. It should default to the workspace, which means you just have to hit Open. And then you'll see it will populate this projects field, and it'll tell you it's got 4 things: OWL, RDFS, rules, and shared. Now the shared is simply just a bunch of jar files. It's the jar files for Jenna, it's the jar files for Pellet. So There's actually no runnable code in there, but the others have all the code we're going to play around with over the next 2 hours or so. So once you've got all that, just hit finish, and it will do its magic. And in a few seconds, you should have over here now. Yeah, we've got the fire alarm in the way. That's the problem.
Let's see if I can safely do this. There we go.
So the first one we're going to start off with is rules, or not rules, RDFS. And basically the way it's laid out is there's a resource folder here where we've got this RDFS file. Now this was generated with Protege, and in a few minutes we'll open it up and actually take a look at it. And we also have family.java, which is the source code that we're going to just start with, and we'll add a little bit to it as we go along before moving on. And all it does, very, very simple. It starts off, it creates an ontology model in Jenna. It specifies that it wants the RDFS inferencing engine as a backend to that. We read our data in, or I mean, we're doing it this way, but you could just as well do a Sparkle query to populate it if you want to populate it from one of our other services, or you want to populate from the linked data cloud if you have that capability. And once we've got the file loaded, we simply just specify the query string that we're going to execute. We do a little magic to actually create an object that can run that Sparkle query. We tell it that we want to run it over the particular model, and then I simply execute it and have it output as JSON. So if we come up here and hit the little play button, it will compile, and then it will run, and you should get in your console some JSON output. And so here we're asking, give me everything that Wendy is a type of. All right, so it tells us that she's a woman, she's an owl-named individual, she is a mother, a parent, a person, a child, and a family member. Now to see how it got all those, let's open up Protege. And you're simply going to want to just open up an owl ontology. I get to cheat a little bit because I've already done it once or twice, but you'll have to browse to whatever directory that you copied the files to, and you want to open up the RDFS file. Of course, it puts it all over here.